You probably recognize me, Steve Marsden, a previous guest on your show. And we are honored and lucky to be joined by my colleague and wife, Dr. Karen Marsden. And it's especially apropos that she's here with us today because she is an expert on today's topic, which is the treatment of stress and anxiety, the hot mess.
The hot mess of stress.
The hot mess of stress.
So I'm also an integrative veterinarian, and Dr. Steve and I have practiced together for over 20-something years. I think between the two of us, it's been 66 years of being integrative veterinarians.
Right.
So stress is a big, fun topic.
Yeah.
We're excited to be here together. We're also married, so, that makes the show a little more interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Today the plan is that Karen gave a presentation to the at the largest veterinary conference in North America a couple of years ago, standing room only, and it was hundreds and hundreds of people in attendance.
Everyone's stressed. Everyone's stressed out.
Yes.
They're like,
yeah, she knocked it out of the park, and so we thought, what a great presentation to give you folks.
This first slide is actually from my hospital. I'm not at there right now, but this was a surgery day, and this cat was here to get spayed. And my technicians know, because I hammered it into their heads, that animals are at high stress when they're at the veterinary hospital. They're going into a surgery, and they take that extra time to build this Fort kick-ass, no boys allowed for this little kitty before her spay. She had a place to hide. She was getting extra attention. When people saw it, they laughed and smiled. The cat is a pet. She's used to laughter and smiles. So these are all subtle things that we can do. And we'll kind of dial back to that because we are going to talk about plants and herbs and all kinds of lovely things. But environment is always a good one. And we're moving on from that. Okay, so these are all cases here from San Diego. And after we were in Edmonton, Alberta for 19 years, and I didn't quite see the stress in Northern Canada that I saw in our neighborhood, which is right next to SeaWorld. SeaWorld has fireworks. So this is Georgia. She's a 1-year-old Bernadoodle, very popular. Doodles are great. They're so sweet. And the expectation is that they'll be super well adjusted and happy. This is a 1-year-old Bernadoodle. Separation anxiety only from the husband. And she would cry and yowl and was frantic to be with him all the time. And the guy was super nice, but he was a runner. Like the way he had twins, he had like 4 little kids, great wife, busy, 3 small boys, yeah. I think running was like his way to keep his sanity, and this dog would lose.
Should have taken a dog with him.
Would lose it. Okay, so we're gonna go on. All these cases are real, and real cases often don't always go the way you want them to be, like fixed with everything natural. But this one's really interesting. So beautiful little dog, and. When Matthew would leave, she would lose it. And so they were very open to diet changes. It is where I start. We both start. Raw food, they went on to a balanced raw food diet. I was like, it's going to be great. It's all going to be good. Let's just do this. And we are allowed to talk about CBD. It's something we're going to talk about in this because there's some specific things I think about CBD that we need to talk about. So we tried that.
Just before we jump to...
I'm going to let him talk once in a while, but I'm his wife, so it's like...
Just before we jump to that next slide, I wanted to follow up on something Karen said about we always change the diet first. Why is that? Because there's been several studies now on corn-based commercial dog foods. They are too low in tryptophan. And tryptophan is the amino acid that's involved in making serotonin. And so corn-based foods, if they have a lot of corn in them, they actually can cause anxiety because of the low tryptophan levels.
So there are 3 kinds of CBD, okay? And this is, people come in and be like, I'm giving CBD, and it means nothing to me. It's like saying I'm eating cereal. I don't know what kind. I don't know what's going on. So we have full spectrum, okay? Full spectrum has something called THC. THC is the thing that affects our brains when we're taking, marijuana has it. It's that psychedelic kind of aspect. The problem with THC in tinctures is 2 things. They have 100 times the receptors to 200 times the receptors for THC, dogs do, and they don't have it in their cerebrum, which is how you think. They have it in their cerebellum. So it's a different part of your brain that controls balance. So if you are giving someone a chemical that is going to affect them potentially 100 to 200 times more in a different part of their brain, and we don't know how much is in there. They'll just say less than 1% or less than 2% or less than 0.05%, but we don't know. It has no medicinal benefit. So if your dog has cancer, which is a different lecture, bone pain, there's some other applications, but otherwise full spectrum is not, I don't recommend it for anxiety. I'm going to drop down to the CBD. That's the isolate. It doesn't have enough. It's like an active ingredient. The whole plant, the broad spectrum, just think like a broad, like a lady. That's what you want. You want the broad. That has so many things. CBD, CBDs, terpenes.
Everyone wants a broad.
Everyone wants a broad. That's what you want. And the reasons, just take home nugget, CBD, CBG, all these little things. Their goal is that they increase serotonin. So Steve already talked about serotonin. Serotonin is a chemical in your brain that tells you everything's okay. It's okay. And sometimes we don't have enough of it. Sometimes we need more of it. Sometimes it gets absorbed too fast or not at all. So this is why brain chemistry and those drugs that we use, SSRIs like Prozac, that's why they're used. We're just trying to influence that.
Quick question. It says entourage effect on your slide. What is the entourage effect?
Of all those different plants. Okay, so if you just got an isolate of CBD, you wouldn't have CBG or CBN or terpenes. You wouldn't have this complex beauty that plants have. And you guys will listen to us for the next hour. We rarely do just supplements. And when I do a supplement, I'm going to use the broad spectrum because I need that synergy that nature has. And this is why we love Chinese medicine, because it's like all in a bottle.
Yes.
It's all just a bunch of
the mother of all nuance effects.
Yeah, instead of being like, you're going to give all these individual things, and then you have all the stuff you're putting in your dog or cat's, God forbid, your cat's bowl. Instead, you have one formula that's going to cover quite a bit. And that's actually what we're taught in vet school. Like, find the one answer. Okay. We mentioned we were in Alberta. I don't know if you guys saw Game of Thrones, but, darkness affects us. A lot of protocols have melatonin. So Georgia didn't do very well. Like I always say, how is she? We're 0 when we come in. We're trying to get to 10. It's a trick Steve taught me a long time ago.
I'm naturally a 10.
Okay, we're moving on. So Georgia got to 2, like 20% better. Now, this owner, they were losing their mind. Like it really was quite a bit. And when I say 3 little boys, like they weren't sitting in their chairs in the exam room if they came in. They were like in the sink and crawling around, and like you could just see the strain. So I am not a fan of drugs. I'm just going to say that right now. But when someone comes in and that's what they want, I know it will probably fail. I need to take that step to get them to the herbs. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, it sounds like I'm manipulating them, but we did. We tried a little bit because I explained we're going to try serotonin. We did the CBD. It didn't quite. Maybe it'll be enough. And then I talked about.
So some people will almost have barriers up, don't you think? Unless you try the drug first, they won't ever take a moment to view that perhaps their dog is better on a herb or something until their big bugaboo has been addressed. So sometimes you have to
Yeah.
start with the drug just to kind of get that out of the way. We know it's not going to work, but just so that then people are like, oh, okay, I really do need something different. Okay, now I'm interested, right?
Yeah, and it's not just like, oh, it worked or didn't work. We took biochemistry for a reason. Like, if serotonin doesn't work, then there's a reason. So anyway, she's 60% better. So now I know that, like, we've basically taken it as far as we can, right?
So we got to 6 out of 10.
We got to 6 out of
High
10.
five.
6 out of 10. 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
That's 40% still a problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Glass half empty.
So wasn't quite there, you know? But that's when I take the time to say, okay, I think we're done with the serotonin. Like, it's going to be as good as it's going to get, and we're on good food. So what's the other thing that causes stress, Steve, in your body?
Oh, I know this one.
Besides your wife.
Yeah. Oh, that was my answer. No, it's your adrenal glands.
We're keeping ourselves laughing. Yeah. Okay.
I see it on the slide. It's adrenal glands. It was a softball question.
Adrenal glands. Yeah. Okay.
So how are we going to address those?
Yeah. So those are your fight or flight. Okay. So everyone knows, like, you get in a car accident or fender bender, or someone yells at you, or, you know, you start feeling very, very worked up. That is your adrenal glands, with a lot of chemicals coming in. And I'm not going to go off on trazodone, but if it doesn't work, part of the reason I think with anxiety is that you're sedating somebody with some big drugs, but they still feel anxious inside. It's like being really tired.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, the outward signs of anxiety may be gone, but that doesn't mean that the person isn't still, or the animal. I'm calling people or animals, vice versa, that they're not still feeling it, even if it's not manifest. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that we all feel somewhat stressed, right? So so there are some great plants for this. So that's what we really want to talk about. So what was the last thing we did for our beautiful girl here? I put her on Halcyon. So that's from Gold Standard Herbs. Dr. Steve helped design some of that for the company during COVID when people couldn't get into the veterinarian. Very amazing. Because Chinese herbal medicine requires a lot of training. I mean, Dr. Steve, it's ridiculous how many letters are behind his name. But he is also a naturopath and an acupuncturist, and his master's in Chinese herbal medicine. And so over the years has, like, taken, I know I'm married to him, but, like, truly, this is his bio, but has taken all that knowledge and translated it to animals. And it's been really helpful. But those were prescription formulas still. But when people can't get into vets, this Gold Standard Herbs, they really did fill a much needed spot here. And now it's available around the world, but is it around the world? I have no idea. But anyway, in San Diego, it helped the San Diego Humane Society, our rescues.
First case we ever treated with Halcyon was an incredibly anxious dog at the San Diego Humane Society.
Yeah. And so it's really full of adaptogens. And this is what veterinarians were this is why they were packing that room. These are the slides that I was giving at this conference. This isn't like changed for you guys.
No, it's not dumbed down.
There's no dumbing down
it's
today.
It's smartened up because you guys are all educated.
You know, we got all these plants.
So a fun fact, the Halcyon is made from, I mean, I didn't invent these things. I just chose things that have been around for centuries and said, I think that will work. So this formula was almost a no-brainer to consider it for anxious animals because it was invented, not a word of lie, 2,000 years ago. And that's the base formula, which we'll talk about shortly. The base formula was invented 2,000 years ago, and you know what they were treating? Mania. So from the get-go, this has been used for anxiety. So all I did was tinker with it a bit to match it to the modern dog. One of the reasons why it works so high in calcium, right? Calcium has this soporific kind of calming, sedating sort of effect. Even from ancient times, that's been known. So as Karin said, lots of adaptogens in there. soporific effect, and there's a few other little fun things that are in there that we'll get to in just a second.
Calming, not sedating, though.
Yes.
So here we are, January 4th, and she was 99% better. Like, they were so happy. And she's on Reconcile, which is doggy Prozac, so it's a SSRI. She's on Halcyon. She's on her raw food diet, and occasionally they give CBD for that, like 1%.
And this is what you call the multimodal approach.
And this is multimodal.
Yeah.
This is the catchword for everybody. But I think it's honest. And it is nice that Halcyon has so much in it that address that last 40%. And what did it tell me? What did that tell me? Oh, it worked? No, it told me that she has adrenal problems. She has adrenal fatigue. Like, let's dial back and be like, why did it work? Great. So now we know that. So now we're going to focus on that. Because serotonin levels in dogs, it's even Prozac, the insert is like, this isn't going to work alone. You need to use multimodal. You need to have other things that they'll say behavior modification, which we all know is I'm not very good at. We'll talk about our own dogs. We are not always. Anyway.
We have messed up animals.
We have really messed up animals.
We're going to talk about one shortly.
We're going to talk about our mess ups. But anyway, I did, yes. Big question. Always. All veterinarians in the room, did you get her off the Prozac? We were weaning her off it slowly. And she was doing fine. She also grew up a little bit. So there is age, just like in humans. After 2 to 3, they do get better. Older dogs that have these sudden problems, they do really well on Halcyon because it's adrenal fatigue more than the blood-brain stuff. So that's how you get both.
Spoiler alert, we use Halcyon a lot. I mean, we invent herbs that we are going to use ourselves as veterinarians a lot. It's not that we're trying to make something that's just going to be marketable and fly off the shelves and we can make up stories about. We invent the tools that we think are going to help us the most in practice. And then some of these tools we have just shared with you directly through the gold standard line so that you don't have to have a veterinary intermediary.
I had a bottle of Halcyon that I was going to put up and be like, this is what it looks like. It's literally all chewed up because the dog got at it when he was anxious. And he was I should go find it because it's really funny.
He had separation anxiety when we were at the house, and he literally went and found the Halcyon bottle, was trying to pry off the lid.
Teeth marks.